all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days. The game of clubs and tees had never crossed my mind. But after some discussion with my closest, dearest friends, I decided that...
Welcome into another episode of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. As always, I'm AndrewPutters. I'm with my friend Joe Nicely. Happy to be back on this week, Joe. Joe, with some killer news coming off the weekend. Joe, how was it?
Yeah, man, had a good one. It was a fun one. Kind of a long, tough year. It's been a grind this year. Had a lot of close calls, but and another close call in a way, but ended up getting second in the Drive the Green contest on Draftkings for $10,000. So pretty nice little week, and really kind of as we're heading to the close of the season, really a great way to close it out, man. For what's been a long one. We started up back in June, Andrew, last June. So we've been doing this for quite a while, about 14 months straight with only a few weeks off. I did take a little break there at the Olympics to kind of regroup. So maybe that helped to kind of refresh things. But yeah, man, really fortunate. A lot of things went my way. So I guess over the course of the year, it kind of evens out. But really excited about that, man.
Like you said, the WGC St. Jude's Invitational. So FedEx Cup, everybody there on the line. We're wrapping up the end of the year. Just a few weeks left of this regular golf season, or actually just a few weeks left of the 2020-2021 golf season. And let's dive in a little bit into this St. Jude's Classic article this weekend came out today at 1:00 about, which is just hilarious. The verbiage that was used to describe what happened on the back nine Sunday, from what the looks of things, that your lineup that you were probably going to be not faring too well until this happened, Joe. So let's walk through. Bryson makes a turn at 18 under. Harris English makes the turn at 20 under, and the winner, obviously, Answer Matsuyama and Sam Burns go to playoff at 16 under. So a major debacle on the back nine. Slow play had a lot to do with that. Slow play warnings. They put them on the clock. And what about the verbiage? The article said that which one? What you probably read more of it than I did, Joe. Which one did one of them define it as being bullied, or did this person define it?
No, it was the writer of the article, Shane Ryan, who's actually a really, really great golf writer and guy I really respect. But yeah, man, this article's kind of out there. And I think he was on the grounds, maybe walking with the group. So maybe that kind of put him in the midst of it and maybe increased the intensity for him. But this is nothing new, Andrew. We've seen this Brooksy stuff since the Memorial. It started out as a fun thing, and really it's kind of a thing that's Bryson's fakeness is kind of coming back to haunt him here. As usual, he wasn't really forthright and was kind of completely ridiculous with the media when he said at the time that it was a compliment. It didn't bother him. He liked it. But at the same time, he's having people escorted out. Brooks Koepka got on Twitter, obviously, and escalated it a bit by giving out Mick Ultras to people who did this, and it's kind of grown from there. But I don't know. The word bully's the thing that I have trouble with, that's used in this article, headlines the article, and I think it's just a ridiculous use of the word. Bullying is obviously a horrible thing, very unfortunate thing, something no one ever wants to see. But these guys are grown men playing a sport for millions of dollars, Andrew, and it's nothing hundreds and thousands of athletes hadn't went through before. Now golf is a little bit different, we know that. But in my opinion, bully's a horrible word to use. Bryson needs to toughen up a little bit, maybe quit being so fake with the media, maybe start talking to the media again. I think some of his hijinks are kind of catching up to him. He's lost a caddy earlier this year. That can most likely be traced back to his difficult personality. So yeah, man, I mean, my thing is don't call it bullying. It's not. And if you're Bryson, toughen up. Harris English obviously put in a horrible spot. Bryson slows everyone down that he plays with. This is something these guys have to deal with every time they tee it up with him. And they threw him on the clock, and Harris English obviously became very uncomfortable as soon as that happened, and blew what could have been the biggest win of his career.
Absolutely, yes. It's just an interesting word. I mean, to me, it just baffles me that every week he is in some kind of media hysteria for some reason. I mean, I don't know if it's because he's so polarizing. Is it so easy to write an article about? Is it so easy that they write the articles about him just because it's going to get the clicks? I don't know. What do you think?
Man, I mean, I just think the guy, I think he's one of those people that is so kind of in his own plane of what he's doing, his mindset, what he's focused on, that he just has no clue how to handle the media, no clue how to handle any type of public relations. And I'm not sure if his team, if he has a team, what type of team he has in place for that. But he's either not listening to them or he needs to fire them. One of the two, because this guy's an extremely talented player. What he's done with his swing and, especially with the driver is unbelievable. The way he's morphed himself into kind of this modern bomb and gouge player. It's really remarkable. He's a guy that we should, be celebrating and that everybody should be enjoying, but he just gets in his own way repeatedly, man. That's the best way I know to explain it. He just repeatedly gets in his own way.
But yeah, this so easy to dislike, as I've said many times on this podcast in the past. But not to take away from Abe Answer's victory, like I said, defeating Matsuyama and Sam Burns in a playoff. Joe, his first victory after 4 runner-ups. So speak a little bit about his performance this weekend. I mean, did the dude? Yeah, I feel like the dude didn't even make a bogey.
Yeah, he's just an unbelievably consistent player, man. Last week when I was doing the podcast here, I felt like every other guy that I named, I was like, this is a guy we expect a big win for just any time. And Answer was one of those guys, and there are several of those guys on the PGA Tour. But Answer certainly was at the top of that list of young guys that have been playing consistently well, that we felt a win was coming, a breakthrough win was coming. And fortunate enough for him, Harris and Bryson came back to the field. He was able to take advantage of it, played very solid golf. Anytime, Andrew, I think we can look at Answer on a golf course that isn't super long, where he can take advantage of his accuracy. The dude just never misses a fairway, man. It seems like he very rarely misses a green. Just a very simple fairways and greens type of player who struggles with the putter from time to time, but extremely solid, man. Look for him to be just one of those workhorses that just grinds out, makes a ton of money throughout his career. Going to pop up and win a tournament here and there, and look for him to have a very long career on the PGA Tour.
I agree. I mean, fairways and greens going to get you a long ways in golf, no matter what. So let's move on to this week, Joe. So first of all, let's talk about wrapping up the year with rotoballer.com. They're the reason we do what we do. Best place in the world for our daily fantasy needs, Joe. Tell us what we got going on at Rotoballer to close out the year.
Yeah, we're closing out the year. I'm going to see if we can't get some kind of little special going for the playoffs. So stay tuned with us on that. I'll try to get that info out as soon as I get confirmation on it. But you can always visit us for our free content. Have tons of free stuff over there every week. We also have amazing premium stuff, man. Our guys have absolutely killed it this year, AP. And you know that. You did the expert roundtable with us. That's part of our premium package. Spencer Aguiar, Josh Bennett, Andy Lack, and you and I jump on that every single week. And we just have tons of options over there. We feel like it's one of the best deals in the industry. So we hope you'll go over there, visit rotoballer.com, use promo code NICE, N-I-C-E, when you sign up, and you will always get a discount with that.
Wyndham Championship played at Sedgefield Country Club in Greensboro, North Carolina. First of all, this championship that has been around for a number of years, Joe. One of the old school tournaments, as you say, been around since 1938. Got a plethora of different winners over that time. It is, like I said, played. It's been the Greater Greensboro Open, the Greensboro Classic. Now it's, of course, like I said, the namesake of the Wyndham Championship. Sedgefield Country Club is one of the McConnell Golf Group golf courses, par 70, 7,131 yards. Course architect is Donald Ross, which I believe all of the McConnell Golf Group's management, they specify on Donald Ross designs. It was renovated in 2007 by Chris Spence. I know nothing about that guy, anything about him, but the Chad Cromer, who is the green superintendent, has his resume is just amazing. Trump National, Doral, Jennings Mills Country Club, the TPC Sugarloaf, Capitol City Club, Greensboro Country Club. I mean, those courses speak for themselves, and I'm sure that's why he has this job. Championship Bermuda basically throughout, with just regular Bermuda. The greens then will be firm and fast, Joe. Championship Bermuda greens can get lightning fast, and I think they will be. Anything you want to talk about the course before we move on to the slate, man?
Yeah, not much to dive into, Andrew. DFS regulars are familiar with this golf course. Kind of closed out the regular season the last few years. Short, tight, hit fairways, hit greens, make a lot of putts, man. Not a ton of secrets on this one. It's one of the handful of times a year where I'm completely throwing distance out the window. I'm giving absolutely no weight to driving distance. Looking at driving accuracy, looking at greens and regulations, strokes gained approach. Birdies are better gain, guys that can light it up. The last 5 winners here have been at 21 or better under par, and I look for that again. I think you need to be 20 plus under par to contend this week. So nothing fancy. Fairways, greens, make lots of birdies.
Yeah, if you look at those, the people, the recent years that have won, all of them hit straight drive. They're great iron players, hit the ball straight, and obviously good putters too. I mean, Brandt Snedeker's won a couple of times here. Siwoo Kim, he's been known to play good golf on short, tight courses. It's kind of interesting though to see a Don Ross design that's a little tighter than normal. Usually Don Ross is more of a links design, which I know this one is too. It's just a little tighter than normal. So
yeah, got some Carolina flavor to it, man. Some tree line fairways. In comparison, fairway width, you're looking at like Harbortown, you're looking at Colonial. We saw Donald Ross track a few weeks ago at the Rocket Mortgage up in Detroit. This is a little bit different golf course than that one, but kind of gives you an idea. Similar scoring, but yeah, man, it's one of those tournaments, and we said on here several times, Andrew. There's a handful of times a year where kind of the entire field is in play. Jim Herman won this tournament last year. And this is one of those golf courses where basically every player teeing it up this week has a chance to win because it is a relatively short golf course by modern PGA Tour standards. All these guys can handle it. Length's not an issue. So from a DFS perspective, kind of makes our job a little tougher because you can't cross out, a good chunk of the field like we can on some lengthy tracks.
There you go. So let's get right into the slate right now. Matsuyama, Oosthuizen, Simpson, Zalatoris, Reed, Kokrak. That's your 10K and above. Course history. Webb Simpson is an absolute beast on this track. 4 straight top 5s, 4 straight top 3s, maybe. 4 straight top 3s, but never winning this event. I'm a little worried at his recent form this past 6 months. Zalatoris is talking about a little bit of injuries. And other than Matsuyama last week and Oosthuizen's killer summer, I'm ready to pass on all these guys right now. I just don't see their statistics trending upward. Other than Oosthuizen's, their statistics are not trending upward. They're trending the opposite direction. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting kind of 10K plus range. Not really what we've been used to seeing. Of course, we've had some, heavy hitter top fields in the last few weeks. The WGC, the Open. So obviously this feels a little bit weaker. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of pick apart these guys up at the top if you want to. Hideki, I really love where his iron play is. Obviously came on very strong last weekend. But you have to kind of wonder where his gas tank is, man. Battled the COVID stuff leading up to the Olympics, missed the Open Championship, fell short in his home country. You have to figure that was an emotional letdown, then loses in a playoff last weekend. So this golf course is a great fit for Hideki because it does cater to ball strikers, and he's obviously one of the best iron players on the PGA Tour, third in this field in strokes gained approach. So you have to love the fit. He's played well here in the past as well, but I wonder where he is as far as mentally and physically as we're winding down a long season and a big season for him. Louis, same can be said, man. He's just riding hot, continuing to play well. He's a guy we can look at on fit and a guy we can look at on form. Checks both those boxes. Doing everything well, man. We've just repeatedly seen him at the top of the leaderboard over the last really 5-6 months. But can he close out a golf tournament, Andrew? Can he win? Webb actually has one here, but it's just a long time ago. But as you mentioned, has 4 straight top 3 finishes at this golf course. Named his daughter Wyndham. So he's got an affection for this golf course. But Webb had a great final round at Memphis last week, so I'm kind of encouraged by that. We hadn't seen that kind of consistent form that we've came to expect from him this summer. But did look better in the Open and did look very good Sunday, closing out in Memphis with a very strong final round. So maybe bring some momentum in. The statistics aren't great for him over the summer, but we know the course history and we know what type of player he is. Willie Z looked a little bit more like himself last week. Had a strong outing in Memphis, kind of after a back scare there in the Open when he's forced to withdraw. But he did do a lot of it with the putter last week, so that's something to keep an eye on. And then Reed and Kokrak, both guys that are very capable, but don't know that it's guys I'm going to be targeting this week. So it's an interesting top of the board. Some strong players, but I don't know that there's a slam dunk outside of Webb. And even Webb comes with a few question marks when compared to his popularity this week.
Yes, moving on down to the 9K, Joe. Here's some names that you love: Brian Harmon, Russell Henley, and your boy Siwoo. I have a feeling you're going to be all over those 3, and I can't say I blame you, Joe.
I don't know that I'll be on Siwoo, Andrew. Let me pull this up, man. I gotta get this right because it was crazy. Okay, I've been doing this since 2018, and Siwoo lost. It was a no-cut event last week, so he had 4 rounds in. We're taking that into account. He lost 16.8 strokes on approach last week, Andrew. It's the worst I've ever seen. Worst I've ever seen since I've been doing this. 16.8 strokes on approach last week in Memphis for our boy Siwoo. But the course history is great. Crazier things have happened. But I probably won't be on the Siwoo train this week just because of that performance last week, man. Just head scratchingly bad. You have to wonder if he's, and we can circle back around to this with Sungjae as well. You have to wonder how these guys feel, man, after the Olympics. I think we've touched on this show just how big of an event that was for them. Obviously a medal gets them out of military service, and both Sungjae and Siwoo fell short of that. So you kind of have to wonder what the lingering effects is. I'm sure there's some emotional letdown there. Sungjae's course history, like Siwoo, is great. Has a T6 and a T9 and 2 starts here. The irons have been solid, but the results have been inconsistent. So, while Sungjae is a guy that you're almost forced to look at this week, you kind of have to worry about the consistency issues, but this course is a great fit for him. Brian Harmon, I have a tough time pulling the trigger at that number, at that 9,900 number, but the course history is great. And outside of kind of a weird miscut at the John Deere, he's played extremely well all year. Russell Henley's the guy I'm circling in this range, JP. The irons are firing. He's second in this field in strokes gained approach. had a T9 here last year, playing really good golf. I had 4 top 20 finishes before missing the cut at the Open. So the form's there, course fit's there. I really like Henley this week. That's probably my favorite play in the 9K range.
Yeah, I like Henley a lot. Moving on down the 8K range, Joe. Some more names to like. I think Kevin Kisner, he plays great on this style of golf course. Plays great on Bermuda greens. He seems to put a lot better on Bermuda greens. EVR, that guy. That's all I can say about that. That guy.
You can figure it out, man.
Yeah. Other than that, Joe, I know you hate to say the name Kevin Gnaw and Seamus Powers right in there too. Who you looking at in this 8K range?
Really, really strange range for me, Andrew. Kisner, man, I've heard a lot of people talking about him, and everything seems to fit. Everything seems to line up for him to play well. We know he plays well on shorter tracks and tight tracks. He's played well on this golf course in the past, but man, he was the only person worse than Siwoo last week in Memphis with his irons. Lost 9.3 strokes with his irons last week in Memphis, and like I said, trail only Siwoo for the worst approach numbers in the field. Had a horrible outing at the Open, so we're talking about a guy that's coming off a T73 and a T63 in his last 2 starts, and he possibly might be one of the most popular players on the board. So he's a guy I think you can certainly consider fading. Ricky's fighting for his top 125 status here. Big week for him. Seamus Power, man, has played extremely well. Obviously, finally got that big victory a few weeks ago. Congrats again, Spencer, on that. But the ball striking numbers are great. He's got some course experience at Sedgefield here, so I think you can give Seamus a look in this range. And then a guy that doesn't really have the course history as many in this field, but it's playing really good golf under the radar, Andrew. That's Charles Schwartzel at 8,100. He's a guy I'll be giving a serious look to at the lower end of this 8K range.
Yeah, some reason Schwartzel, I guess it's just his putting is so inconsistent. He's so hard for me to pull the trigger on anymore. But I do love his. He hits the ball. There might not be anybody out there who hits it better day in, day out than him. Moving on down to the 7K range, Joe. Former winners here: Brandt Snedeker, 7,900, 2-time winner. JT Poston, 7,800. And this is where we always say the 7K range is where the tournament is where the GPPs are won and lost. You got to find a couple of those guys that finish high. You want to thank Doc Redman, but God, the form has just not been there. I don't really know where to go with this 7K range. You got a lot of pretenders in here. Brendan Todd and Chris Kirk are 2 names that I like to throw out a lot on courses like this, but both of them's recent form has not been very good, Joe. So is it time to plug in our silver medalist, Rory Sabatini?
Another guy fighting to get in that top 125, Andrew, believe it or not. Sabatini's had a really disappointing year, which makes his silver medal run kind of that much more impressive and unexpected. But yeah, man, you mentioned the 7K range kind of always seems to make or break us, and it feels kind of loaded this week. Really, there are tons of names that we're familiar with at least. You mentioned Brandt Snedeker up the top at 7,900. Not a guy that we can really routinely target anymore from week to week just because of kind of the modern game. You almost feel like he's a throwback, but this is a throwback kind of golf course, and it shows in his course history. Shot a 59 here in 2018 on the way to a win. Has a couple additional top 5s on this track, so I think you can give Sneds a look. This is one of those half dozen times a year where he's legitimately in consideration. Mito Pereira, man, the guy has stormed up from the Korn Ferry Tour. Almost won a medal in Japan, Andrew. He's playing extremely well, won a couple times on the Korn Ferry Tour, and has started to make his presence known on the PGA Tour. So I'm very comfortable going with Mito there at 7,900. Vegas is playing well. The irons are firing. I prefer him on driver-heavy tracks, but his iron play is really sticking out. He's 6th in this field in strokes gained approach over recent rounds. So I think you can give Vegas a look. You mentioned Poston, former winner. Heard a lot of people talking about Taylor Gooch this week. We always seem to get him wrong, Andrew. I really prefer him on tougher golf courses. I don't know that a birdie fest 20 plus under type of event is really where he shines. And if you look through his course history, through his results this year, he's played well at TPC Sawgrass, plays well at the Honda, plays well at Riviera. These tough golf courses seem to be better suited for his game. So I don't know if I'm as big on Taylor Gooch. And then we got a couple guys that we've really leaned on here recently, man. Mackenzie Hughes, Patton Kazire, Hank Lebioda. Been riding these guys heavily and will stay on. Kazire's a guy I always look at when driver's not a huge emphasis. He can rack up birdies in bunches. Same can be said for Mackenzie Hughes. When the dude gets going with the putter, it's lights out. And Lebioda was on an unbelievable run before being forced to withdraw from the 3M up in Minnesota. And as we go down into the lower sevens, Andrew, tell me who you're looking at down there. I think there's a couple more viable options as we get to the bottom of the sevens.
I mean, when you get to the bottom of the sevens, probably the guy has the second best course history here in recent years. Ryan Armour at 7K. He got maybe a tie for eighth, tie for fourth, tie for eighth, and a couple of top 25s in the last 4 years. So there's him, Bo Hogue, whose recent form has not been terrible. Couple of top 20s in recent weeks. I love Kevin Mitchell, but probably not on this track, especially on a track where you got to make a lot of birdies because he has trouble keeping the putter hot. Other than that, Joe, down here in this bottom range, that's really it, because I can't rely on like a Luke List or Kevin Mitchell, Keith Mitchell, and to get their putters hot, and really can't rely on Doc Redmond to show up.
Yeah, it's guys we want to play, Andrew, but maybe can't this week, right? Guys that in certain situations we'll turn to and feel pretty good about rostering, but as we mentioned at the top of the show, it feels like the entire field's in play this week. So these guys that are long, and that's a big part of their game, we kind of have to bump them down a little bit almost, I feel. A couple of shorter hitters, we can look at. CT Pan has played well on this golf course, played very well in the Olympics, grabbed a medal over there. We always want to circle his name on short golf courses. Adam Shanks, a guy that's been on a really, really nice run. Played well again last week in the Barracuda. Not a lot of people paid attention to that event, but I think Shanks a guy that we could maybe try to ride the hot hand with. And you mentioned Ryan Armour, who I feel is an excellent play. Just a overwhelming collision of course history and very good recent form. Very nice blend there. He's fourth in this field in fairways gained, 17th in strokes gained approach. Has logged a couple top 10s recently. So, and as you mentioned, the course history's there. So, great call on Ryan Armour, man. Really, really like him this week as well.
Moving down the 6K range, Joe, there's a lot of interesting names right here at the top of the 6K range. Adam Hadwin, who hasn't had the best the last couple of years, but this golf course would fit his eye, I feel like. KH Lee is a great iron player. We all know Stallings is a good iron player. Kramer Hickok. And what, are we just, for no reason other than he's 6,800, going to have to throw a little bit of Molinari in there, even though he's playing terrible? Top 15 at the U.S. Open, I know, but we're still going to throw him. It's a tough golf course, Joe. I say tough. It's a tight golf course, and he can get off with the putter. So, talk about the top of the 6K range, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the rest of it.
Yeah, I think there's some viable options down here, Andrew. You mentioned a couple of them. I don't know that I've got the nerve to go to Francesco Molinari. Almost in that Taylor Gooch mode. I feel like I prefer him on tougher golf courses. Even though he's in poor form, I just don't know that I love him in a birdie fest where he's going to have to get to 20 under. Roger Sloane has been playing very good golf. Don't know that it's a terrific fit here, but he's a guy that's played well. And it's kind of gross to say, man. You're actually going to like this one. Jason Duffner, the Duff Daddy. The approach game is on point. This is a short golf course. He can thrive on these type of tracks. I do worry if he can make enough putts, but he's fourth in this field, AP, in greens and regulations gained over recent rounds, and has looked really good on approach as of late. So, at 6,700 in this type of field, I think you can actually give Jason Duffner a look as a player with some top 25 upside. And as you move on down, some more viable options. Camille Vadis, a former winner here, a guy that's played pretty solid, has been making cuts. We can grab him at 6,600 this week. And a guy that I have kind of liked playing in his limited starts, very limited starts on the PGA Tour. A guy that was a stud at Duke and just it hadn't worked out for him to find his way on the PGA Tour yet. That's Alex Smalley at 6,500. He's kind of from the Carolina area there. So if you're looking for kind of a cheap dart throw, like Alex Smalley there at 65, and even as you go on down in the lower sixes, AP, there's a couple of viable plays. Vincent Whaley, who we seem to kind of don't know what to expect with his salary each week. It feels like we spent a lot of time talking about this guy this year, but he's down there now where we can give him a look at 6,400. So I think you have to give Vincent Whaley a look. Denny McCarthy's got great course history. Comes in at the same price at 6,400, and several names we know as we go on down the list. But so I really feel like you can kind of do anything you want to do this week, which kind of makes it a little frustrating that the top of the board isn't stronger, isn't a little bit more reliable, because I do feel like there's some viable punt plays down here this week.
Yeah, I like Whaley a little bit. I like Cam Piercy too, man. He's been really solid here this past year. Just hitting his irons great. I know. I mean, the Aussie, he's basically a top 30 guarantee almost week in, week out. He's probably somebody you need to look on a top 40 bet, top 30 bet on with your book there. So, Joe, coming towards the end of the show now, we got to talk about one thing. Where's your heart at, and what's your dart play of the week, man?
Man, I always seem to get these wrong, but at this point in the week, I like Mito Pereira there at 7,900. I'll go with him as my dart. I don't know if he's a dart, but he's a newcomer to the PGA Tour, and I really like his game. So I'm going Mito Pereira as my dart. My heart, man, I'm going Russell Henley. My boy, I like the iron play. He putts well on Bermuda. That's his best surface. So going with the irons this week, man. Russell Henley is my heart.
I'm gonna throw out the heart play of the week. I just Kevin Kisner, man. It just lines up so well on this golf course, Bermuda greens. Too many things are lining up. Donald Ross design, old school design. That's what he's an old school style player. Maybe, the TPC in Memphis is not an old school design. And, a no cut event. A lot of these guys lose their luster, man. You've seen it in those WGC events, shoot way over par. So that's my heart of the week. And even though he's 8,400, probably gonna get a pretty good price on him. My dart play of the week is, man, I just see Ryan Armour right there again, 7K.
Yeah.
I mean, just makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's my Ryan Armour and Kevin Kisner, Joe.
Yeah, I like it, man. Can't argue. I really like Ryan Armour a lot, AP. I think that's a really good call. And Kisner, like you said, it all makes sense. He's probably in for a good week. And I hadn't got to look at ownership concrete numbers yet, but I just expect him to be pretty popular. But tough to argue with, buddy.
Yeah, hopefully, say with, he's got a little bit of that Strillman. Strillman's really the only person that'll take away probably from his ownership. But on the way out, Joe, everybody, if you like what you hear, give us a follow, give us a sub. We thank all of our subs every week. Anybody that comments, we appreciate it. It really helps us out. And thank you, rotoballer.com. Don't forget to use the promo code NICE when signing up for the PGA Premium. Check your Twitters for a possible special coming up to close out the year. Rotoballer.com, thank you so much. Joe Nicely, I appreciate it, friend. And you have listened to the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast.
My first big mistake. I already hit 3 in the lake. It's gone.